Somehow, my friends, we have come to the end of but another year, which means there's been plenty up in, and there has been plenty of down. And we've seen golden ups, we've seen brown downs, we've seen Oscar ups, we've seen a bunch of other stuff that I've made up as we went along. But now, as we do move into 2020, we have to look back over the last 12 months and decide when it comes to World Wrestling Entertainment, what deserves an end of year up and what deserves an end of year down. I know we're going to miss some bits and you're not going to agree with a lot of what I'm going to say, but let's do it together. Let's do it like a team. And yeah, my name is Simon Miller. This is What Culture Wrestling. Let's up those downs for WWE in 2019. We start with the up straight away, and I think it's only fair to shine a spotlight on a particular superstar who came back in around April and proved that no matter what WWE has done to you in the past, if you can come up with a way to reinvent yourself, you can absolutely smash it. So Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, he's getting it up. Because don't forget that in 2018, the last time we kind of saw Bray Wyatt was in a tag team with Matt Hardy, and that was good, and I did enjoy it, and the Deleter of Worlds, or whatever the hell they called themselves, were fun enough. But when you remembered the potential that Bray had when he was part of the Wyatt family, you thought, oh man, this is a future WWE champion, this is a future top guy, you were kind of left scratching your head, because that is not what happened, that not what happened at all, because WWE had booked him into the ground. And it was even more confusing when the vignettes for his return did start to air after WrestleMania, because there was like a T-Rex, I know it was a buzzer, but like a T-Rex in a box, and he was all going, man, everybody was just confused. And don't forget, when we first saw the Firefly Funhouse, nobody knew what was going on. It was like, okay, cool, WWE has finally lost their mind, I'm going to switch off and just bang my head into a wall instead. But as it turns out, we were all judging the book by its cover, because this is one of the most in-depth characters we have seen in the company for years, and finally it's proven, no matter what you think about his matches or anything else, that Bray Wyatt is a pro wrestling genius. I mean, it developed over each and every week. It left you intrigued, it left you interested, you really wanted to see the Fiend, and you're also fascinated by this really happy Mr. Rogers style Bray Wyatt character. It's just brilliant then. And even though there were a few obstacles that we are going to talk about, it remains brilliant now. If you had long hoped that Wyatt was going to be the successor to The Undertaker, or at least kind of take on that guise, this was as close as he got to it. And if we hadn't have had Hell in a Cell 2019, we probably would be singing his praises a whole lot more. But even still, Bray Wyatt, you get a salute. You absolutely killed it. And we just mentioned Hell in a Cell 2019, so we may as well keep this train on rolling. That, of course, gets a massive down. Because not only did it really hurt Bray Wyatt something fierce to the point we had to rehab him, despite this only being like his, second or third match, it also took a bullet, and it shot Seth Rollins in the head. And how crazy is that? As I've said on here Ups and Downs before, if you had told me at the start of 2019, when everyone loved Seth Rollins, and everyone was like, well, Seth Rollins surely has to win the Royal Rumble, otherwise we've all lost our minds. And at the end of 2019, we're like, what a piece of crap. What an asshole, I hope they turn you heel. And they did, and I actually think this was the right thing for Mr. Rollins. But what a crazy ride, and it was all because of that stupid Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And we don't need to get into it massively, because if you know, you know, and if you don't know, make your life better and don't go and read about it. And of course, not only did it kill those two guys, it also killed the stipulation of what Hell in a Cell is meant to be. That was basically WWE's deathmatch, and we just threw it into a fire pit because we didn't care. I'm genuinely intrigued to see what happens when we get to 2020, because you know that they'll do Hell in a Cell again. They always do. And I'm going to sit there just laughing, going, well, it's preposterous. In 2018, Brock Lesnar interrupted. In 2019, a big weird hammer and a toolbox ruined it. What can you possibly get me to believe in now? It was like ruining Christmas. I tell you what else we need to celebrate, what we need to remember, and what we always need to hold close as if it's a loved one, is when Brock Lesnar won the Money in the Bank and came out as Boombox Brock. It's absolutely fantastic. Up. And I know it caused some controversy when Mustafa Ali was about to grab the briefcase and then the Beast did return, but forget about all of that and focus what he did 24 hours later on Raw. Brock Lesnar is a legitimate UFC champion, Brock Lesnar is a legitimate badass, and Brock Lesnar was the person to stop The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak at WrestleMania 30. And yet, he had no problem coming out with his hood up, putting the briefcase to his ear like it was some kind of speaker, and just dancing and jigging away. And he did it with so much confidence, and he did it with so much, pizzazz, you couldn't help but laugh, and it made you absolutely love the next big thing. I mean, that deserves a round of applause. It was one of my favorite things I saw in a 12-month period. And that really is what wrestling is all about. He entertained me, And as the name above the marquee suggests, I come here to be entertained. I tell you. Now we're talking about the entire decade. Brock Lesnar is underestimated, he's underrated. I think he's one of the best ever. This is me ducking the negative comments. Despite what WWE would have you believe too, after The Fiend absolutely ruined him and he returned as the American Dragon, Daniel Bryan actually had an absolutely incredible 2019, and he's getting an up as well. I mean, it was nuts that he made a big comeback and within months WWE had turned him heel, but that heel character, the environmentalist, and the way he just shibbed over the audience was absolutely tremendous. When he finally made it to the top of the mountain and became the WWE champion again, and he had that weird non-leather belt, everything just worked so well, and you couldn't help but be taken in on this ride. And you know that he kicked ass with this because everything he was preaching and everything he was saying about the environment and recycling and all of that was actually on the money, but he did it in such a dick way you couldn't help but think, oh, I hope somebody comes out here and kicks you right in your face. And all of that came after the fact he returned from a career-ending injury, and he still got us to hate him. The man is amazing. He's one of the best wrestlers of all time, and there are still a few people out there going, well, he can't cut a promo very well. Bullshit, bullshit. Daniel Bryan is amazing, and his whole, like I say, 12 months was awesome. We're going to talk about Kofi Kingston later, but a huge reason that worked so well was Daniel Bryan. And now, how can you be mad? He's back to being the American Dragon. He's doing all the yes stuff. It's everything that anybody loves about him, and he's pushed it all together. And we switch back to the Downs, because while you may forget about it now, never forget that over these last 12 months, not only were we subjected to the wild card rule, but we were also subjected to all those stupid 2 out of 3 falls matches. And all of that gets a down. Because if you do watch this show regularly, you'll know for some reason when they muck around with a brand split, it just irks me because I'm like, what is the point? You asked me to buy into Red Bland versus Brew Bland and Brew Bland versus Red Bland, and I do, and then you just slap me around the face like I'm some kind of chump. And it was even confusing after we did another brand split in October because Bayley was turning up on the wrong brand and Brock Lesnar had to quit even though nobody else had to quit. It just makes my mind melt. And with the wild card rule, it got so confusing, I had no idea who was meant to be on each show. So sometimes Lacey Evans would be on Smackdown like, is that even a wild card pick? I can't remember. And you never want to feel like that when you're watching episodic weekly television. You want to feel rewarded that you invested your time in this, and WWE completely lost that as they tried to sort out the ratings battle. They seemed like they killed it off now, but we shall see. And that 2 out of 3 falls things. Don't forget that as well. Every match, we'll do a 1-on-1 match. no, we won. It's 2 out of 3 falls. Then the next one, oh, you thought no, it's 2 out of 3 falls. And they just did that because they wanted to keep people through ad breaks. Serve the story, man. Serve the story. It's been a long year as well, so while you may be focusing on Bobby Lashley and Lana, because that was the most recent relationship nonsense WWE did, there was far more over this 12-month period, and all of it is getting a down. Flip was there. Because yeah, we did have Lana cheating on Rusev with Bobby Lashley, but aside from that, we had Mandy Rose going into one of the Usos' hotel rooms and trying to seduce him there, and we had all that madness with Maria and Mike Kanellis. And as I stand here on what the day is today, what is it, December the 28th, 29th, something like that, 2019, I still have absolutely no idea who Maria's baby got pregnated by. That wasn't even correct grammar, but that's how much it confuses me. Who had sex with Maria and put a baby in her stomach? Because it wasn't Mike Kanellis. We established that, and yet we never found out what the answers was. I believe it's called cucking in the modern day and age, and WWE was obsessed with cucking, and in 2020, I would like to see a lot less cucking. Now I think about it as well, in 2019, I think it's the first time in a long time that WWE actually took its big 4 pay-per-views and made them work far better than they have done previously. So when it comes to the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, WrestleMania and Survivor Series, it's getting a damn up. The Royal Rumble certainly wasn't the best one we've seen, but the fact that Becky Lynch won hers and Seth Rollins won his, which is what the fans wanted to see, it made us all happy, and that was the same with WrestleMania. I do understand that it went on for 67,241 years, but every good guy won. Kofi Kingston won, Seth Rollins won, and so did Becky Lynch. It's like WWE throwing faces at you and you kept ducking but also jumping into them because you wanted to embrace the love. It was the same with SummerSlam too. We had all these issues with Brock Lesnar and everyone was like, what are we doing with the Seth Rollins character? We kind of want him to be top of the chain but he's not, and WWE righted that by allowing Seth to beat Brock Lesnar for the second time, and that rarely happens. Again, we've already discussed what happened after that, but I'm just talking about the moment. And when it comes to Survivor Series, well, that whole NXT invasion stuff was absolutely badass. The whole time I was worried how on earth WWE was going to make me care about brand warfare when they'd run it into the ground, but they did by simply taking the former developmental league and sprinkling them into proceedings. I mean, Rhea Ripley, Keith Lee, they all came out looking like heroes. And there have been times in the past, the recent past, when we've got really hyped for these big four pay-per-views and then been let down, and rightfully we've been keen to yell at WWE, but you can't do that in 2019. They absolutely did what they thought was best, and surprisingly, in a very rare occurrence, they got it absolutely right. This is a strange one too, and you can kind of argue in the last couple of months it's gone in the other direction. When you're talking about it from a majority point of view, the 24/7 title brought me more joy than it did misery, especially R-Truth. Maybe we'll just dedicate this one to R-Truth all in all. Give it up. And I know recently it's just been a bunch of nerds running after it, even though they never get anywhere close. I mean, R-Truth sometimes wins it back on social media, and they don't even mention that on Raw or Smackdown, but when it was good, it was great. Remember all that stuff between R-Truth and Drake Maverick? That was utilizing those two characters really well. And genuinely, for a time there, I always was excited to see what they were going to do. So you have to take everything that you've seen. You can't just focus on the small bits, and overall, I enjoyed it. Simple as that. It wasn't even WWE's idea. It was the USA Networks. In 2019, we also saw Uzi Hot down. Now, I don't get why the WWE is so keen to make the Revival look like idiots, but they certainly doubled down on that when they booked the storyline that, well, one, the Usos were going to break into Dash and Dawson's changing room and watch them shave each other's backs, but two, they were going to put some kind of liquid or powder or whatever in the Revival's pants, which would cause them, before a match with the OC, to roll around and pretend, let's call a spade, that their penises were on fire. I mean, who is that for? Who found that funny? I know a few kids that watch pro wrestling. They're my friends. I said to them, hey, did you enjoy Uzi Hot? They were like, no, Simon, I don't watch WWE anymore because they do stuff like making men's penises set on fire. And here we are in December, and is anybody remembering that with any kind of love, with any kind of joy? Or does it make us scratch our heads and go, wait, the Revival are a really good tag team. We probably need to build up the tag team division a little bit more. I know they've been champions, there have been some good bits, but that stands out. That stands out quite badly. Hence that down. A bit of a sad one this, but as I am recording this video, I've just watched the last Smackdown of the decade, and I think it's only fair to say that with all the money that went into it and all the advertising that WWE was going to move to Fox and Smackdown was going to be on Friday nights and they were going to reinvent the show and give it a new sporting feel, well, it didn't really work, did it? When we had a big guy come out dressed as the big dog, we had a lot of dog food segments, so that's getting it down. I'm not saying Smackdown is a bad show, and I'm well invested in things like Otis and Daniel Bryan, but I really did think we were going to use this as a moment to change the directions of WWE going forward. Because really, Raw and SmackDown's been the same that they were in, what, 1998? That is over 20 years old. You've always got to keep things fresh. You've always got to keep things exciting, and moving to network TV should have been the catalyst to do that. And instead, we kind of just focused on what we always focus on, and that was a little bit boring. It was a little bit dull. It was the status quo. I mean, as I stand here saying these words, the big feud is Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns, and the rumor out there is that, yeah, they're going to have the loser eats a can of dog food match. I've seen that in WWE time and time again. It never gets me overly excited. In fact, sometimes I watch it and I roll my eyes. It just seems like a missed opportunity. So just to double down, just to underline it, I'm not saying the blue brand sucks, I'm just saying it could be so much more. Never got to see it climb up the mountain. And if you can believe it, in February 2019, we did introduce the women's tag team belts, and in December 2019, that ain't even that long, they mean pretty much the same as all the other belts in WWE, and that absolutely sucks. Down. It all started when Sasha Banks and Bayley went out to the ring and said they were going to defend these belts as if they were the best thing in the world. They were going to go to Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then they just lost them to the Iconics, and then the Iconics were never on television at all, and you were left once again wondering, where are these belts and why does nobody care? And ever since the Kabuki Warriors won them, they have been a little bit better, but again, Asuka right now is focusing on a world title feud, and I don't even know what Kairi Sane is up to. I mean, for a long time, they weren't even allowed to have separate music, despite the fact they were a team, and I hate it when they merge singles wrestlers' themes together. It's just been, once again, like the SmackDown stuff, it's just a missed opportunity. We could have used this to actually have some titles that mean something and to bring other women from the women's division into it, but instead, where the hell is Naomi, for example? Carmella has only been on television for the last 2 weeks. None of it makes any sense. I don't understand. I've already mentioned how easy it is to forget things that have happened because they happened so long ago, but Batista came back to WWE in 2019. It was the best Batista return we'd ever seen. up. Because this was during an episode of Raw where we were going to celebrate Ric Flair and say how great he was and wish him happy birthday, happy Christmas, happy Valentine's Day, but instead we cut to the back of big old David beating up his former mentor, and he just stared into the camera like an absolute madman. And it did everything you want that Monday night show to do. Big Star was involved in a big angle, and it told you better tune in next week, otherwise you're not going to know what the hell he's up to. And he did that promo, he just spat everywhere, went, give me what I want, and it worked. You can laugh at him, but he got what he wanted, which was his last ever match against Triple H at WrestleMania, and while that was okay at best, I loved all of it, mostly because I love old Dave Batista. He was also allowed to return as a bad guy, which is where we did screw up back in 2014, and it really did feel like the perfect swan song for a guy that I believe, much like other people in this list, has always been vastly underrated. He's going into the Hall of Fame in 2020, and I will die on that hill. If you disagree, I will argue the case. What a difference a couple of years can make as well. When Roman Reigns came to the ring after WrestleMania in 2017, he got booed for around 10 minutes because he had defeated The Undertaker the previous night. Then in 2019, he came out, said a few words again, but this time it was, I'm in remission, y'all. It's the best damn thing I've ever seen on wrestling television in my entire life. It gets an up. It kind of seems crazy now as so many people have forgotten this ever happened. Who even cares? That's just wrestling, that's just storylines, that's just fictional tale. I don't care about that. What I do care about is a man being diagnosed with leukemia, having to leave his dream job, but coming back and telling everyone, I'm gonna be all right and I'm gonna continue to kick all the ass. You know what? I've made a huge error here. It's not an up, it's a golden up, and it's the best damn thing that happened in WWE, and not only 2019, but maybe in the history of the entire company. Gets me a bit emotional to talk about it, and I don't even know Roman Reigns. I'm just a bald asshole on the internet. Golden damn up. However, around that time, we also got the Viking Experience. You remember it? I remember it. Somebody backstage at WWE actually saw those two guys and went, I know you were called the War Raiders. At one point you were called Death Machine. I think we'll call you the Viking Experience because we've been speaking to some theme parks and we want to try and have some kind of relationship with them. Down. And we also have to give another down for the first episode of Smackdown on Fox, which did see Kofi Kingston lose his World Championship in, what was it, 6, 8, 12 seconds? It was really short. It took one F5 and he was never even allowed to go after it again. That gets a down. However, on the flip side of that, Kofi Kingston was the champion in 2019 when he did beat Daniel Bryan. It was absolutely incredible and people were actually crying because they loved it so much. So Kofi Mania, that gets it up. And talking about WrestleMania 35, the main event, of course, has to get an up as well. It was the first ever women's main event, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair. And while maybe it didn't live up to expectation in terms of quality, it was still brilliant. And like we mentioned earlier, it still had Becky Lynch winning the damn thing. And that is going to get an up. Hopefully it means going forward that whenever women do main event any kind of pay-per-view, we don't even talk about it because it becomes commonplace and it becomes normal, and then they're there because they deserve to be there on merit. And sometimes it's more than a narrative, it's more than what you're seeing in front of your eyes, what it means long term, what it means for the future. And WrestleMania 35 laid that flag in the sand, and I, for one, particularly enjoyed it. And that's that. That's all the ups and the downs for 2019 in WWE. I know there's loads more, like we barely talked about Seth Rollins. That was an absolute debacle. And we didn't mention Goldberg versus The Undertaker at Super Showdown, but let's face it, they've had enough of a kick-in. They don't need me popping up to kick him even more. But on the flip side, there's some ups they've missed. For example, when The Undertaker came back at Extreme Rules and teamed with Roman Reigns, that was a great match, as was Goldberg's comeback against Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam. So you see, they're all in there. They got some honorary mentions, but I focused on the ones I felt like we should focus on. And that's what the comments are there for. You can tell me about some other ones too. So yeah, don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know, what did I miss, what did I not miss, what do you agree with, what do you disagree with. Like, share and subscribe. Head over to whatculture.com, read yourself some articles, follow What Culture on Twitter, What Culture WWE. Watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture, and as I'm saying on all these videos, we get to the end of 2019. Make sure you enjoy your new year and get ready for 2020, because this train is just getting going. I will see you when I see you.